Good Thursday evening, and welcome to This and That, the podcast. I'm your host, Joe Gilloway, and along with my partner, Bill Bostic, we hope to bring you guests and topics that will pique your interest from the worlds of local politics, arts and leisure, pop culture, and beyond. We'd like to first start by thanking our This and That, the podcast sponsors, and they are the Robert H. Hoke Post 272 American Legion on North Mountain Road in Linglestown, Team PA, AAU basketball, and Rickabaz Electric. Thanks to these great local businesses for their continued support of This and That, the podcast. Okay, Bill, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. My office manager, Oliver Schminke, got things set up for me.
How do you afford an office manager, Bill?
He's an intern, office manager. Long term.
He's a figment of your imagination, is what he is. But anyway,
don't give it away.
But I do like the name Schminke. That's wonderful. If he ever needs any extra work, I can use him too. How about what episode number is this, Bill?
I believe it's 21.
Bill, you're doing so well, buddy. It's 22. Okay. Yeah, last week was 21, and you knew it was 21. Okay, well, that's okay. We got to keep coming back, right?
Yeah, I can't be right all the time.
And let's mention once again, this is the People's Podcast, and it's the People's Podcast because we do like to include the people if they want to be included, I guess. We have a comments column here, yep. And if they wish, they can make comments or ask questions of our guests or ourselves, and we're also going to ask you again. I think I ask this every week. If you have any people you know or topics you want to recommend that may pique the area viewers' interest, let us know. And there's a good chance that we're going to use that person or that topic in an upcoming show. So yep. How about our disclaimer, Bill? It's the views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the participants who voice them and do not necessarily reflect the positions held by This and That, the podcast as an entity, Bill or myself, or the sponsors who support the show. Okay. And let's
just keeps us out of trouble.
Yes. Momentarily, in a few minutes, we're going to bring in this gentleman. That is George Hartwick III. He is a 6th-term Dauphin County commissioner. And I just want to keep everybody's attention. I don't want anybody to leave if this isn't keeping you around what we're talking about here. This should be a real treat to have George on. And then the second segment, we're going to do some housekeeping stuff. Bill, you want to hear the housekeeping stuff I have planned?
That'd be good. So I'm not sure if I know the whole list.
I think we went over it last night, Bill.
I'm just kidding.
I know you're just kidding. All right, so we're going to do a roundabout update. And there's not much in this world I like to talk about more than the Linglestown Square roundabout.
And that's my middle name, Bill Roundabout.
And I'm kind of joking, but I'm kind of serious because it's an issue. We need to get George Hartwick out here. He could get this roundabout issue solved. I can tell you that right now. He is a true public servant, and we need somebody out here. And then we're going to talk about the school bus driver shortage and let everybody know it's not just Susquehanna Township. It's not just Cumberland Valley. This is a nationwide shortage, and everybody's up in arms, and I would be too. I mean, there are parents who are very inconvenienced by this. They already have it tough enough, Bill, that with a bus picking up and dropping off their kids. And then they have to kind of add that into the mix. We're going to talk about the Hershey Park heroes. I'm going to say heroes because there were 2 gentlemen that went up there and pulled that kid. I think the kid was 9 years old, 10 years old, but they pulled him off the monorail. I don't want to get into it too much. And then there was a gentleman. We'll talk about a little bit about what happened at the Lower Paxton Township Board of Supervisors meeting too. So anyway, and the last thing, and is equally as important to anything, we're going to see what's going on with you in Linglestown Gazette.
Okay.
You are the publisher, right? The publisher?
Yeah, janitor, publisher.
You do everything that Schminke doesn't do, right?
Yeah, he mainly makes the coffee runs.
Is that it? Okay. Oh my God, I don't think I could ever retire from doing this show, Bill. I just had a lot of fun for the last 4 minutes and 54 seconds. All right, so let's bring George in here. How's that sound?
All right, sounds good.
There he is, George P. Hartwick III.
What's going on, gentlemen?
You survived our opening segment. We first of all,
I want to meet Schminky.
Oh,
okay,
my, this guy.
Well, we can arrange that.
He's kind of real and he's kind of not. So, George, thanks for joining us.
Honor and pleasure to be here.
This show was kind of created for guests like yourself. Like we knew going in, Bill's been covering, and we're not going to call you a politician. I swear to God, you're a public servant, but you work in the realm of politics, or you work in the realm of public service. He's been covering public servants for decades, so I have the right partner when it comes to guys like you, or folks like you, or we do school board, we do Lower Paxton Township Board of Supervisors. So, Bill, you're going to get your sleeves rolled up here, I think.
Okay.
And
I have a few questions. Sure.
Okay, so let's start with this, George. 6th term Dauphin County Commissioner. How long is a term?
4 years.
So you are between 20 and 25 years right now, somewhere in that realm?
I'm about 21 and a half.
Okay, all right. That's
And
a good run.
Served prior. Actually, to be honest, it's the longest serving commissioner in the history of Dauphin County.
Really?
The previous individual was about 19 years.
Okay.
So prior to that, as you're aware, was elected as the mayor of Steelton, my hometown, a town which gave me a whole lot of what I have, and sort of the entree into government service is something that I never expected to get into. I finished, college, came back from Bloomsburg, and we were sitting around my brother's barbershop. And there were a couple of guys, Torrin Pettigrew, my brother, Tim Brown, and having this discussion about how great the town was where we grew up. This idea of public playgrounds and the level of experiences that we had growing up in Stilton were unlike anywhere else. I will tell you that I would not rather be from anywhere else in the world. You
couldn't write a script about a town like Steelton and match what it actually is in real life.
Especially in the time that I grew up. I mean, it was one of those eras where you didn't see your parent. Like when the sun came up, you were over at the football field, and the only thing I responded to was my dad whistling when the streetlights came on.
70s, 80s, and 90s, basically.
Yep. Yeah, I grew up in the 60s and 70s in Dillsburg.
The mean streets of Dillsburg.
Yeah, exactly.
So listen, I promise these people when they come on and make comments, and Anthony Crisillo says hello, George, by the way. I certainly will. Anthony, he said hello. Yeah, I always like to bring in whomever wants to join us. I like for them to be part of the show.
But George, as far as you're growing up in Steelton, was that in the 50s and 60s like me?
Look, don't let my hairline fool you. I'm 53, graduated at 16 and 89. So the era in which I grew up in, and I don't know if either of you know this, but I grew up with a handicap. I grew up with a disease called Perthes disease, which
you were in a back brace.
I had leg braces, almost like the Forrest Gump. Yeah, I had them on for 4 years, and Stilton wasn't the easiest place to grow up with leg braces, but it was also sort of the beginning stages of God placing things in front of you,
right? Not
as curses, but if taken on the right way, there's blessings on the other side. I rode my big wheel with my hands, beat everybody in crab races, went with Dr. Kotler down at the Philadelphia Children's Hospital, and by the time I was 8, was the first person to be cured and not wheelchair bound as a result of having a degenerative hip disease. And I think 2 days later, we signed up for midget football for the Stilton Raiders.
That's incredible. I mean, that's really
strength doing that was just remarkable.
What position did you play?
I was the center and inside linebacker for a team that went 64-0. We didn't lose a game on Cottage Hill.
Oh my, that's something else. And we cover high school sports too, George. And I didn't even know that. I do keep track of a lot of Steel High sports. So let's talk about. We talked about. I wanted to get out of the gate with Steelton. We talked about your pride in the town and or the borough, I guess, but it is a town to me. The sports piece. And what about your family? I know most of your family. That I would say that the people in your family I don't know are your younger kids. Mm-hmm. I've met them, but I know your older kids. I know your mother. I knew your father. I know your brother. Talk about your family and how important and tight knit your family was growing up.
We grew up in a different era where it was tough, a tough road. My dad worked 3 shifts at Bethlehem Steel, and I remember walking around on my tiptoes, depending upon the shifts that he worked. My dad did 2 tours in Vietnam, in special forces, and was a very tough individual. Could fight physically, and ruled in a similar way in my household. Yeah, there was no doubt who was in charge, and there were consequences, and some challenge. I think today it would not work out. I probably would have been placed in another home, but I survived. Right. I survived, and sort of better off as a result of a lot of the things that you go through. I think that's the sort of the message you'll hear from me tonight.
And men like that usually have salt of the earth wives, right?
My mom, when people used to say they knew my grandfather, they knew my dad, I never knew whether to say thank you or duck.
Right.
When they mentioned Neen and my mom, I knew that it was nothing but love. She's the sweetest person in the world. She does nothing but give people love. It would always joke and say Neen could have a skunk that would spray on her, and she said, "Sweetheart, it's not his fault. He really
And she's a very good cook, by the way. You know that too, of course.
A great cook and a spectacular human being.
Yeah,
and thankfully, even with cancer, she's still around. She had 4-stage cancer, and they were expecting her not to live for 2 months, and we're now almost a year and 8 months later.
Wow!
And God's not done with her.
Let's send a shout out and a prayer for it's Jeanette, right?
Yep, they call her Neen, but
Neen.
Jeanette. Yep,
Hartwick. Okay, so let's talk about. You said you graduated from Bloomsburg. Did you have any jobs before? You said that you've had the longest tenure at as a commissioner in Dauphin County. You were the youngest mayor in the history of Steelton. So you've had some firsts, right? Kind of boxes that you've checked that other people haven't checked before you.
I want to correct it. I did not graduate from Bloomsburg. I ended up graduating from Penn State, Harrisburg.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure that that's accurate. And in a response,
I should have said once we returned from Bloomsburg. You didn't say you graduated. I assumed.
I finished at Penn State, Harrisburg.
Okay.
So I want to make sure that is officially correct. And actually earned the last year and a half of my education in a way that it was another hard lesson for me in life. I wrestled at Bloomsburg, so. I had a scholarship to go there to wrestle, and
great wrestling school.
Yeah, we actually beat Penn State one of the 3 years that I was there. So
wow.
we had a heck of a team. And it was during the era of what was called the Eastern Wrestling League when Penn State, before they went to the Big Ten, it was
Lock Haven,
West Virginia, Pitt,
right.
East Stroudsburg, Edinburgh, Clarion. Right. It was a hell of a conference.
Those were the days, for wrestling, the heyday.
They were the heyday for Pennsylvania sort of college wrestling, and now Penn State's got an unbelievable hold on the wrestling world with Cale Sanderson. But
right.
it was fun to compete in that era.
So we talked
other jobs.
Other jobs. Did you ever have another job besides the mayor and the commissioner?
Well, I first started working at Belgrade Pizza when I was in school. Flipping pizzas and working for the Mons. At Belgrade Pizza was my first
those
job.
rolls were great. I used to get the turkey subs down there.
I used to clean out the ovens and make the dough. And then I then worked for the summers that I was at Bloomsburg. I worked at John Wanamaker's in the suit and tie department.
Great. That was a great store.
I worked at Bethlehem Steel in the splice bar mill, flipping 100-pound tie plates in and out of presses for 8 hours a day. And then I worked the night shift at Rollway Packaging Service, getting those packages off the induction for 4 hours. So I was hustling to make money while
you
I
had
was
and you had some tough
worked
jobs.
3 jobs. Yep.
Good.
And then before then, when I first got out of college, the mayor of Steelton paid me $75 a month. So obviously you can't raise a family on that. And I was working for the Pennsylvania Treasury Department. The first job that I got there, I have a finance background. And the first job I got there, I was told I'd get this big job. I helped in a campaign, and they sent me down to the check shredder in unemployment compensation. Literally, I was with a whole bunch of guys that got placed there for all the wrong reasons. And I went in a suit every day, and I told them, look, I don't plan on being here for long. They said, you shredded more checks than we've done for the last 6 months and a couple of weeks, I said, I don't plan on staying here, guys.
So that was Go
I
ahead.
moved up there into a position and then ultimately was a part of running the Section 529 program. I worked under both Catherine Baker Knoll and Barbara Hafer, spent about 11 years in the Treasury Department.
Nice.
Wow.
Okay. All right. So then you hatched this plan, in your brother's barbershop with Torrin Pettigrew and your brother and whomever else you included down there. And you had to run, talk about, you're running for mayor. How's that start? First day when you kind of hit the ground running, what do? You make some signs up and, knock them into the ground or what?
Well, first of all, I'm extraordinarily competitive in case you don't know.
I do know that. Yeah.
And so I view like both as I look back in life that there's two parts to government service. There's campaigning and running for office. And then there is governing, which I think is far more difficult and takes, a lot of people are not worried about today governing. They're only worried about the politics. And I think politics is a diversion from folks who should be focused on doing their job. They're trying to keep you away from their inadequacies in knowing what their job is or how to be able to solve problems. But setting up a strategy to run a campaign, during that time, it was Steve Reed, who was the guy who was in charge of everything in Dauphin County. And so I worked on, putting together a campaign. We talked about raising money. We knew how many votes we needed to win. I pulled together about 60 volunteers. I raised more than enough money, and I went to Steve Reed because I was told you got to see him before you do anything. Like it was one of these things back in the day. You got to see him before you run. So I sat down with Steve Reed. I don't know if I've ever told this story publicly, but I sat down with him, and I didn't ask him for anything. I just said, Mr. Mayor, I know I need like 900 votes to win. I've already identified 1,100. I need to raise $10,000. I've superseded $10,000 already. I need volunteers. I've exceeded those volunteers, and I'm going to win this election. I'm not asking you for anything, but when I win, I will give you the credit, sir.
Okay.
You know what he said to me? Young man, I think you get this game. Come on over and take a picture with me right next to the So I earned his endorsement at 24 years of age. And, actually spent a lot of time, believe it or not, that man was one of the brightest and most intelligent individuals I've served and still would remain serving with at any levels of government. He understood finance far better than any other single person I've been around. And I've taken the ability to understand, manage, and utilize external revenues outside of general fund monies to be able to operate in government and try to keep taxes low and figure out a way to run services and not rely on those dollars as the primary source of ways you fund operations. So
what a blessing to have crossed paths with people like that, huh?
Yep.
Yeah. I think George, you could have been
jump in, Bill. I know.
Well, I was going to say, George, you could have been a salesman. I mean, that was a great sales job you did with Mayor Reed.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know what? I don't think he's hard to talk about because he was that guy the picture that George just painted. Everybody would tell you that about.
Well, yeah. I mean, he went to all the fires and he was everywhere in that city.
Right. So Bill, jump in here, buddy.
Well, I was just, you talked about public service. I mean, do you have any idea where that desire to be in public service came from, George?
I hope you guys don't mind, but I have a really strong faith. And as I look back over my life, there's no doubt that God has put a light in me. Mm-hmm. And the only person that's ever allowed that to be dimmed for service and the help of others has been me. Mm-hmm. I've always been focused on the ability to try to assist in making the lives of the people I interact with, the people that I serve. And look, don't get it twisted. I work for the people I serve, not the other way around. Yeah. And I view that as a sacred trust and one that, as I look back over my careers, while I may have made personal decisions in my life that have not been the best because of the holes that were in me that I tried to fill with things that were, quite frankly, not about filling them up. They were about the holes in me that needed to be fixed.
Absolutely.
And the part about public service, I've never compromised at any level of government service, my integrity, my honor, or the trust that I'm being given by the public. I don't think anybody, they could talk about my personal life, but my public life and the things that I've done and the record that I've established is beyond reproach.
I
really
agree. I
Right.
totally agree. And we'll get to some of the things that you were just referring to, the personal stuff later in the interview. But that was kind of my theme, the theme to what I was kind of trying to tell people, or if I would interact with somebody on Facebook, I'm like, we're talking about a man who did not let the people down. He let himself down, maybe. He let those close to him down, but he'll get back on the horse and do what he was doing prior to this, and it'll be great things for the people. So I agree with what you're saying, is what I'm trying to say here.
And Joe,
Um,
I'll jump right into that question. I mean, like this idea, I hadn't drank for a couple of years before that incident occurred.
Okay.
But I think I probably relapsed the year before that with all the stress and shit that's happened and the politics that were being played. And I felt this.
Now explain to people when you say probably, not to interrupt you, probably relapsed a year before that. You don't mean actually drinking, and I know what you're talking about.
Yep.
The relapse starts
thinking.
before the actual,
It's called stinking thinking.
Called stinking thinking. What's going on between our ears? I'm a recovering alcoholic. I mean, I haven't said that on this show, but I understand what you're saying. And you get yourself to the point where there's really nothing left to do but pick up a drink. You have yourself primed for that, right?
And you know, I think the best thing that could have ever happened to me is for anything that's ever been in the darkness of my life to be put in the light. It freed me. You know, like it literally has freed me to be able to not only, like, my life has always been used by God as an instrument to be able to help others, even through my weakness. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, this idea that you are a servant doesn't just happen when things look all together and you're good. It happens too when you are in a position where everybody else you serve is in. Like, how else do you gain the level of empathy when people call you who are struggling with mental illness or drug and alcohol issues, unless you have been in those same exact positions, your family members, and you have that experience? You know how valuable it is, not just to view somebody as a vote, but to see them as a human being that has significant needs, and you need to make that connection. You have an opportunity to do that, and that's a part of our recovery. The idea of plugging people in and helping others and giving back in that way is a part of the process of both self-improvement and continuing to give away what you've been given. And from my perspective, those are the blessings that continue to happen in even a stronger way. And sometimes when you do have those kind of weaknesses, folks go, you know what, I can talk to him about things that I've never talked to other people about in government service. I mean, I've literally buried friends who've committed suicide. Some of them two of them that actually folks would know publicly, they wrote in their suicide note. They had serious childhood trauma. One was sexually abused by his father and didn't see any self-worth in himself, but because we were exchanging those things. And we don't do that well as men, guys. Like, we somehow think that when we talk about the trauma that we've experienced, childhood trauma, the issues that you faced, we believe, you know, that exposes weakness. And what have we been raised to do? It's like, not do that, because somebody will use it in a way to destroy you or attack you, particularly in an environment like this. And the older I get, this idea that you shouldn't ask for help is a bunch of bullshit. Like, asking for help, in my opinion, shows incredible strength.
Well, that's kind of the brave thing to do, rather than the opposite. And I really believe that, because it's not easy to ask for help. It takes a little bit of bravery. It takes a little bit of faith to go, you know what, whoever I'm asking here, they're going to be okay with it. They're not going to judge me. And it takes a little bit of pain too to ask for help, you know. So George Graham Nixon is a really good, one of my best friends. He says he's here watching. The relapse happens long before the drink. Correct, Graham. Graham's a friend of mine, a brother in recovery. Let's move on to this, George, unless you had anything else you wanted to talk about there. We can get into some of that other stuff later, but I want to make sure that people understand what a Dauphin County commissioner does. You know, you're in your 21st or 21st and a half years now. What have been the biggest issues or challenges as a Dauphin County commissioner? I know that you have to deal with tax increases, and there have been very, very, very few, right? One maybe now.
Years there's been one.
Right. Okay. So that's stellar. That's superb. How about balancing a budget? You know, I know you take pride in that. So go ahead.
County government is extraordinarily complex, and I'm fortunate. You know, even through all of this, I still serve Pennsylvania is one of 2 representatives to us on the national level for all 67 counties that represent all county interests on the federal level. I serve in the role as Human Service Policy Chair for the state. I served in that level nationally. I've always believed that number one, the smartest people I know there's always a lot to learn. And number 2, I'd rather be at the table than on the menu. You don't hear a lot about what we do because county government is really complex and touches every aspect of your life, from health and human services to the court, criminal justice system, to the parks and rec. And great, we got the Jazz and Wine Festival coming up this weekend. Phenomenal lineup. We had great lineups in Dauphin County all summer with the Cultural Festival, with Riverfront Park.
You've gotten me in a couple, as you've done me some favors with my grandson. I appreciate that. Yeah.
And there's also the public defender's office. We all in all, there's about 1,700 county employees. We have about a $360 million budget, 41 departments, and we represent probably one of the most diverse counties in the Commonwealth. I mean, when you talk about Dauphin County, a budget is really a set of priorities. You've got a strong rural part of Dauphin County, you've got a heavy suburban part of Dauphin County, and you've got a big urban core that has grown. So this idea of how you do things in the best interest of everybody you serve, particularly in a politically charged world where people want to focus on differences rather than draw circles around where we come together and how we can make improvements, it becomes challenging to deliver those services. And even this morning at the Harrisburg Association of Realtors breakfast, we're with Cumberland and Perry County commissioners. The counties are struggling across the Commonwealth. 36 counties raised taxes last year. It's projected that 48 counties are going to raise taxes this year.
And that's out of what? Mid 50s? How many counties are there? 52?
67 in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And the idea that local government is taking the brunt of a federal shift of costs that are coming our way. And the state government has only passed 12 budgets in the last 25 years on time. We all have to pass a balanced budget. We are now carrying costs for health and human services, children and youth, for mental health, for drug and alcohol, for the Area Agency on Aging Services. All those dollars are being now borne by county taxpayers that are supposed to be federal and state responsibilities. When they don't pass a budget, we then lose interest earnings. Some counties have to take out lines of credit, and we are floating the boat, literally, and having local taxes go for mandated services that are supposed to be funded at the federal and state level. Now, one of the things that is really important, and I'm proud of being a county commissioner, we triage well, but our safety net is broken. I mean, it's completely broken. Talk about the mental health system, drug and alcohol system. They have been depleted with resources since the closure of the state hospital, and the number one provider of mental health services are county jails. They continue to cut behavioral health services, and think about the Medicaid cuts that will come from many of those who rely on that source to be able to fund their behavioral health services. So that shift is going to have even more detrimental effect on counties to pick up the role of the providing of those services for the uninsured and underinsured in our community. And look, there are no easy solutions for budgets. I think based upon where we're at, the government and the responsibilities of what we provide have to reduce. Like I'm not for solving all problems with government. We've got to focus on what we're required to do. And I think this year, particularly, we face a significant budget challenge again, and we've got to think about how we cut costs, but also figure out a way to stabilize revenue. And I think the real complex problem comes where you've had ARPA and federal monies that have subsidized county services through the COVID era. Those dollars have all went away, but salaries and wages have all risen significantly to be able to keep government employees. It used to be the benefits that would be the golden handcuffs. Now we've got to match salaries in order to get quality employees. And in doing so, they've risen costs for all related county governments. And to sustain that, we need to figure out a way to have revenue sources. And right now, those revenue sources from the state and federal government are all being cut and pushed down. So
it requires a big pivot on your part, right? Like a big,
and we have to balance our budget, Joe.
Right.
So let me push it off.
Let me ask you this. First of all, Kirby Lentz said, "Tell George we appreciate the people from the county volunteering at our food pantry." Kirby helps to run a food pantry out here in Lower Paxton Township.
Good man.
And some of your colleagues have volunteered.
I have as well.
Yeah, where's the food pantry out
It's
at?
at the Calvary United Methodist Church, right across
Okay.
on Locust Lane, right across the street from the Central Dauphin Middle School. So let
Yep.
me ask you
Okay.
this, George.
I
This is
volunteered
something.
there, Joe. They're all good people out there. Those
Yeah, they are.
volunteers do an incredible job.
Awesome. This is something that's always intrigued me. 3 commissioners. It's not 5. It's not 7. It's not 9. When you look around, there's only 3 of you. Okay. How is that relationship? And the faces have not completely overhauled over and over and over. There have been different kind of incarnations, right? But
Yep.
you've been with some of these other 2 fellows. It's always been men since you were around, right? You've been with some of these guys for longer periods of time, shorter period. How important has the relationship with your other 2 commissioners been since you've been in office?
Joe, the one reason I stayed as a county commissioner is I had not had to play politics a lot over the course of time. We've been able to focus on doing good work and allowing government service to prevail. And we were sort of a leading county related to innovation in ways that we were able to solve problems because we worked together across party lines. Over the last year and a half, there's been sort of a change to that a little bit. There's been many more politics issues of the national level that are really not germane to county government have begun to settle into sort of where we're at. And I think that serves to divide us, not bring us together. And the message even this morning was we get so much more together getting things done. But in politics, people would prefer to point fingers and do this.
Yeah.
Right.
That means they don't have to do work. They don't have to be responsible for solutions. And I will tell you, if that exists in my world, I won't continue to serve, quite frankly, because this job's difficult enough. And if I can't tangibly see how I'm improving the lives and taking responsibility for running and serving and making a better community happen, I didn't sign up for politics. I signed up to help people and figure out a way to improve government service.
You made that clear to me the other night. You and I talked for about 5 minutes, and I called you a politician. You're like, whoa, stop right there, Joe. Yeah, you told me stop right there. That's not what I am. I'm a public servant. Bill, you want to jump in here?
Well, I just have one curiosity, going a little bit different direction. I work mainly with boroughs and townships, but every once in a while, these bridges come into play. And I never really understood the role that the county plays when it comes to bridges. Can you explain that to us, George?
I absolutely can. That the derivative of bridges and the funding of bridges so there are county-owned bridges, there are municipally owned bridges, and then there are state-owned bridges. And then on federal highways, there are federally owned bridges. So depending upon who owns the bridges, in Dauphin County, we have 62 bridges, and we are one of the only counties in the Commonwealth that has no structurally deficient bridges. We have, over the course of the last 22 years, made significant investments, and the derivative of those dollars come from liquid fuel funds. Liquid fuel dollars actually funnel into the county and are used to be able to both inspect and repair and plan to make changes to those bridges and upgrades and improvements. So we've been on a consistent improvement plan that has allowed us to actually complete about 3 years ago all structurally deficient bridges in the county. Now, it's a continual process. Some are continuing to degrade, and we need to make those investments. But because we were able to do that and keep that upkeep and that level of maintenance on our county-owned bridges, we opened up an infrastructure bank program that actually allowed us to partner with municipalities to lower interest rates for them to fix their local municipal bridges. So we've actually offered a funding mechanism. We borrowed from the statewide liquid fuel bank and leveraged about $30 million, reduced the interest rate, and made those monies available to municipalities to do their own bridge repair. And the repayment structure for that is they dedicate their future liquid fuels revenue as a repayment to the loans that they receive for us to do that upfront work with the local municipality. So it's liquid fuels dollars that are the derivative, and we've creatively funded and financed a lot of our repairs. Counties, no deficient bridges, and the municipalities will say, for the most part, we've been able to keep up even with some of those deficient bridges as well.
What a great question and a great answer. Thank you, George, for that.
I was going to say the one bridge I did see a big change. I don't know. You might know how many years ago, but the one coming out of the village of Union Deposit over to the main road over to Hershey. That's a beautiful bridge.
That's
now,
made my life a whole lot better.
Yeah.
And that was one actually we did. I think it was probably about 12 years ago was the completion of that bridge. And that was a part of our upgrade. And that is a county-owned bridge you referred to.
Yep.
George, I kind of see you as more of a frontline guy, as a public servant, often serving those who need it most. I mean, I know that you have a connection with like neighborhoods, and I know that you have to be available to serve whomever needs it. But you like to get down and dirty, roll your sleeves up, find out who in the, let's just say maybe those with the biggest struggles are oftentimes the people that you're reaching out to and trying to serve. Is that correct?
But Joe, that is me. That's the communities that I come from.
Right. Yeah.
Having roots here, you cannot be disconnected from the people and the.
Yeah, you're very connected with those people, is what I'm trying to say.
I try to make myself accessible, and I'm here to be able to serve others. And I told you this. My attitude is that's really where my paycheck is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that the ability to serve people in their times of need when they're losing housing or they're facing significant challenges where their kids are potentially going into the juvenile justice system. Somebody needs to talk to their child out of Dauphin County prison who they're concerned about their health and well-being at 2:00 in the morning. We're going to make sure we facilitate that for families to ensure the safety. Because if I was calling an elected official, I'd want them to answer their phone. I'd want them to do the things that they need to do in order to serve me. And I wanted to make sure my kid's safe. I mean, those are the kinds of things that we should be doing as public servants.
You were pretty much a brand new commissioner when my son was in some trouble. My son, we lived in Lower Paxton Township, Dauphin County, of course, and you had a meeting with us. I think you remember that. We met at a church. I don't know what your role was or what you were trying to accomplish, but I know one thing. You were trying to help my son and my family. I think you were trying to connect us with some services to kind of, hopefully stop the bleeding before whatever he was going through got any worse. But I just remember, and I don't think we really knew each other then, maybe casually just from friends of friends or whatever. But I remember thinking, wow, that guy's a commissioner and he's out here at 7:30 on a Tuesday night, sitting in a room trying to help my son and my family. And I'll never forget that. And the only reason I mention that is because that's what you were just talking about, feeling the need to connect, one-on-one or one-on however many in a family, and do it in person and really care about who you're trying to help. So
if I've been given the opportunity to, be given a light and have connections to be able to maybe help with the I'm not an attorney, but if I can talk to somebody to try to have some consideration and have somebody complete a level of service that gives back to our community, but also doesn't give somebody a full-time record and keep them in a position to make them accountable, let them know that the way they respond to this issue is going to determine whether I can help other people and give them a chance at the life that God intended. Isn't that worthwhile to be able to spend time out, to be able to connect and help those people? Those are the kind of blessings.
Absolutely.
That's the reason why you do your job.
I just remember it was something. I'll close it with this. I don't mean to gush all over you, but it's an important story because I want people to know that you're not just walking in a nice expensive suit and sitting in an office in some tower somewhere.
Ivory Tower.
Yeah, Ivory Tower. That's what I was. I just wanted people to know that's something else that public servants do. They're out there. The sleeves are rolled up. They're on the front line. And Bill, go ahead. I think you wanted to jump in. I only have one more question then.
All right. Before we get off the public service, and I was curious how so much focus is on the greater Harrisburg area, but you talked about the diversity of the county. You go north, it's a whole different world in northern Dauphin County. How do you and the other commissioners stay in touch with that group in northern Dauphin County?
I spend a lot of time in northern Dauphin County.
Okay.
When I get over Peters Mountain, I feel like I can breathe.
Yeah.
And you'd be so surprised at how folks from northern Dauphin County are connected both to Steelton and me. I always tell this joke when I get up to Halifax, up to Elizabethville and to Barrysburg and to communities in northern Dauphin, Millersburg.
Your pillow.
pillow. I always say that so many people at Bethlehem Steel, and we talk about fighting for steel workers. We can talk about that later because that's something that is really, really critically important, that we keep the pressure up to keep those guys employed down in Stilton.
Yeah.
550 people being held on a string by a company that's not a great partner. We've been pulling out all the stops to make sure that this gets the attention, and we're hopeful that we may have some good news here in the near future. But the idea of Northern Dauphin County, we'd say the people from Stilton who work at the mill may be a little late if it snowed. The people from the upper end were there 40 minutes early.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
It's a work ethic, a mindset. And when I first became commissioner, we created a human service center up there, which is really the model for how we engage rural communities to be able to serve their own needs. Churches, community, they believe to step up for each other is a part of their role. I just wish we could get that everywhere in all sections of the world. This idea that the churches, the community, they feel needs in ways that are so creative that come from within. They're not relying on other people. There's a way to be able to reach out. And to be honest, the level of Medicaid and poverty that exists in Northern Dauphin County exceeds some of the more urban areas.
Yeah.
And the resourcefulness and the ability for folks to be able to provide that level of service in Northern Dauphin County is inspiring. I love the grit and determination up there. And I always say that in Stilton, we had the Hunky hotline up there. They got the Dutch hotline, and it was faster than Bel Air AT&T. And there are a lot of really great people in Northern Dauphin County.
Well, I want to give you the opportunity to kind of segue or transition right over to the situation with the steel mill. I don't have it written down here to talk about, but I think it's important. I know it's important to you, so let's talk about it. They idled, let's say they idled the steel mill a handful of months ago, right? 4 months ago, 3 months ago. And the idle doesn't mean closed down, but it means maybe closed down eventually. So what's going on with that, George?
Well, closed down. There are 550 employees that families are now in limbo.
I'm just using the technical term, idled.
But they're not.
But they're without work. They're without
laid
work.
off.
Yeah.
They're not certain in the future, and they got a company in Cleveland Cliffs that has not given any communication or certainty related to how they plan to either sell or what partnerships that they will provide to provide certainty for the future of the mill. And you know the history of Stilton.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, look, they created the Golden Gate, the steel for the Golden Gate Bridge, Toronto Sky Dome. Half of this country has been built on steel that's been manufactured in that plant, and they still have the capacity with a small investment to create a 100-meter rail that can have worldwide competitive, no welds, a head-hardened rail at a limited cost. It's literally a gold mine, and the way that mill has been viewed has been sort of as a corporate write-off for these companies that have taken them over since Bethlehem has left, rather than a real partner that gets the value out of the mill. So, quite frankly, I put together a coalition along with Senator Kim and Senator Rothman and our local delegation. We had made it very clear that we don't care who provides a solution. We put together Republicans, Democrats. These kind of issues should draw us together. And these are the ones we should draw circles around. Who doesn't want to save steel in this country? Who doesn't want to save jobs in this country?
Who's not going to raise their hand to that? Yeah, exactly.
If you're against it, I'm not for you.
Right.
So quite frankly, trying to bring together, and then people are like, well, why would you meet with Perry? Why would you meet with, look, I will tell you that the elected officials who I've met with all have had a willingness to be able to sit down and talk about a role that they can play, both at the federal and state level. We facilitated a meeting with the Trump administration, and we put this on the radar screen. We've asked the governor to be engaged, and we are not going to go away until we get action and a partner that's going to be willing to resume the operations of steel in Stilton. We hope to have, it's on the administration's radar screen. And again, I don't care who I need to stand there with and say we won. I care about the workers and their families and the people that are struggling, that are waiting for an answer and now being hung on a string. So
I know
these are the kind of fights I'll take on. And I guarantee you, with this coalition, this is the kind of example you can set where people work together, get more shit done. Instead of pointing fingers and telling you what side you're on, let's talk about ways we can save jobs, improve communities, get investment to occur, and fix the things we're responsible for. Those things shouldn't be partisan issues.
Bill and I, we covered local government, township government a lot. And we always talk about fixing roads and improving parks and all this stuff. There shouldn't be an R and a D attached to it. And there should not be an R or a D attached to getting 550 men and women back to work and getting this mill up and running. There should not be anything political about it.
The ones who are playing politics don't have any solutions.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me before this is another one off the script here. What can you do about getting Patty Kim on this show for me?
I can make that happen.
You can tell her now it's a safe haven. Like she can have fun and relax. I think the world of her as a public servant. I really think a lot about. I think she's awesome.
Well, she's another person you can't hang the politician tag on.
Absolutely not.
You can't.
I've been watching her for she's been around a couple decades now. 15 years or so,
or more.
And
she was newscaster beforehand, state rep, now senator.
Yeah, so we'd love to have her on this show sometime.
So send me an email.
I will.
Doug Brown, who used to be the borough manager in Stilton and my assistant economic development director, is now her chief of staff in the Senate.
Okay.
And Patty and I have an excellent relationship.
That would be wonderful.
I'd be glad to extend the invitation.
Thank you, George. So let's kind of take this down to the I'm going to get back into this, not a whole lot, but the recent challenges that you've dealt with, okay? And I'm not going to get into specifics, but they're challenges that are not unlike what I've been through in my own life. And do you feel like you came out the other side? Again, I don't think that there was any interference to the way that you were serving your constituents. I really don't. And that was one of the reasons, besides the fact that I like you and I respect you, that I stuck up for you, whenever I had the opportunity to. But you feel like you kind of were able to turn the page to a fresh chapter in your life, like you're better than ever, that you're able to come out and go, I'm ready for the next chapter. Let's get it going.
I don't think I'm prepared for things to get easier. I think I'm actually grounded in the fact that there's a couple of things I learned in treatment. First of all, I never had 30 days to be able to take an introspective look at yourself. And, in the world and in our society, everybody else has fingers pointing out. It's always somebody else's fault. Everybody wants to be a victim. There's always some issue that exists that way. I think instead of trying to do that, I think at least for myself, spending time really looking at my childhood trauma, things that have caused me to excel in life have been also the things that have driven me in ways that, have not been so healthy for myself. And there's a guy in treatment that said this, Joe. He said, I'm a grateful addict. I'm a grateful alcoholic. And I went up to the guy afterwards and said, dude, what's your shtick? Like this grateful alcoholic, grateful addict. Tell me what your shtick is. He said, George, I heard your story about when you were in leg braces. He said, I see there's a light in you. He said, me being an alcoholic isn't a curse. It's a blessing. It's given me everything I have. It's given me a relationship with my God. It's given me a support system that won't allow me to fail. It's given me an attitude that knows that if I'm not making personal self-improvements and moving up the stream, I'm moving back towards addiction and alcoholism. So there's a lot to improve. By the way, there's 194 character defects. Do a self-analysis and figure out how much we all have to work on. It was an incredible experience.
I never knew I was that sick.
We don't have all 194, but I was shocked to see how many I do have.
Right.
There's always work to do. And the idea also of figuring out at the end of the day, when you get put in fire, who do you turn to? And for me, both Shelby and I have been spiritually together. We found a great church home out at Life Point Church in West Hanover. I know that God has been with me in times where I didn't deserve his grace and mercy. And I think the idea of ensuring that the opportunities that are in front of us are not tragedies. Like I could have gone anywhere else. I didn't have to go to work, relapse. But I think to be able to take whatever was in darkness, put it into the light, to free you is redirection and an opportunity for you to ultimately understand, number one, the rent's due every day in this disease. Number two, continue to make self-improvements. It's okay to give yourself grace. This idea that you've got to be so hard on yourself all the time to hold up the world is not the healthiest way to live. You can give yourself some grace too, and surround yourself with people and a community, quite frankly, that has your best interest. You can reveal some of those challenges too. I'm in counseling, so that has been very helpful to me to deal with some of the trauma stuff. And look, men who are out there, it doesn't make you weak to be able to address those issues within yourself. I would rather make these kind of improvements. At 53 years old, I'm more excited about life than I've ever been. I know I got a lot to work on, but I know God's not done with me, and He's forged me for when these things get tougher to even provide a higher level of service. So I'm grateful for what I've been through.
I can see the light in you, as the gentleman in
absolutely.
treatment said. I can see that there's a light in you, George. And anything else, Bill?
No, but I just second everything you said, George, because we talk about alcoholism and different things. I'm not an alcoholic, but I have my own hang-ups, and just recently came through 6 years of doldrums, and because of the problems I had and the things I had to overcome, I'm better than ever right now, and so we all have these issues. It's not just everyone does to some degree, I believe.
And Bill, use me as a resource ever in the future. If you ever need to talk, understand my line is always open, and we're not here by happenstance.
No.
I'm willing to listen and provide that level of support, and I appreciate your willingness to share that. That's not an easy thing to do.
Well, we appreciate your willingness to come on and join us. George P. Hartwick III, 6th-term Dauphin County Commissioner. You do a great job. I'm glad to know you as a public servant, as a friend, and I'm just glad you came on the show. I always say to Bill, I don't set any expectations. I just let things play out the way that they do. But had I set expectations on this interview, I would have way undersold myself, or undersold the whole interview, because you did a great job, and I'm glad to know you.
I'm blessed to be able to serve you and call you a friend.
Yep.
And I'm here if you need anything. And quite frankly, to be an open book and be able to be in service is truly a blessing. And I don't take it for granted. And it's truly an honor to continue to serve the people of this county. And we'll do it with everything I got.
Tell the family I said hello.
I will do so. Thank you,
guys.
All right.
Thank you, George. Have a good evening. Take care. All right. So, Bill,
I was going to say that, George, you sort of made a tradition of these golf claps. He definitely deserves the golf clap.
All right, we'll give him a golf clap after he's off the air. Yeah, he deserves a golf clap. That was a great interview.
It was.
I don't like to use the term interview like he doesn't like to use the term politics. That was just a great chat.
Yeah.
We were hanging out. We were talking. So anyway, and and I didn't mention it, but I called George a couple nights ago. And I told him, I'm going to have to ask you about, your issues. He had some issues 3 or 4 months ago, and then they were alcohol related. And I said, I can't really be a responsible show host or interviewer unless I address them. Okay.
Yeah. It caught the attention of Penn Live for weeks.
Well, he was all over. He was all over Penn Live and other, but he's like, Joe, ask me whatever you want, man. He's like, I don't have any restrictions. He's like, I said, well, I want to make sure that I ask you in the right way. He goes, I don't care how you ask me. We're going to talk about it. So anyway, let's move on now. Thank you again to George Hartwick. And how about a roundabout update? Roundabout Bill. That's your nickname now? Bill Roundabout?
Well, yeah, no
Bostic?
one's ever called me that. I sort of call myself that. And I sort of picked up on some comments on Facebook that people are getting tired of hearing about the roundabout. So that's where
I'm not. And this is my show. So
we're now, we had so much attention for that period of time whenever, trucks were going through their oversized trucks, and the great pictures that people submitted to Lingostown Gazette showed up, and TV stations showed up, and got a front page article on Penn Live, all this stuff. So now we're sliding down the other side. Doing the hard work of trying to get in front of the right not politicians, but public servants,
right?
To make something.
Shame
happen.
on you, Bill.
Sorry. There may be a few politicians sprinkled in.
Right.
But so the township officials are going to have a meeting on September 16th with PennDOT. Now this is going to be the first interaction, and the whole effort, I think, locally is being led by Supervisor John Jeem, who is actually a highway engineer of some sort. I think he has an engineering background for sure. Professional engineering background. Yeah, he knows contracts. He understands construction and all. So a great asset for the township to have him for right now. So that's really where we're at. Now it's a matter of trying to explain to the PennDOT what kind of problems we have here and what role they have, especially with the signs and things like that. So,
Well, township member Eric Kessler, he was kind of fired up the other night. Well, he
yeah,
said, and if this point, if the point he's making is accurate, and I'm sure it is, I wouldn't disagree with him. He said some of these truck drivers are not certified. I mean, if there's uncertified or non-certified truck drivers driving through these roundabouts and chopping up the concrete and all that, that's an issue, man. That's really, really bad.
I think Eric's calling for periodic stop the truckers coming into Lingostown, checking their credentials
Right,
and all that
yeah.
kind of thing.
Okay. So how
And
about go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's more of the enforcement component. And
Right.
with the enforcement, it's more of a local issue they're working on right now.
Okay. So there's a school bus driver shortage. We don't need to get into that too much. Susquehanna Township, interestingly, they either are talking about it or they are implementing it, paying parents to deliver and pick up their kids from schools. Now, it would be
first time I ever heard that kind of thing.
$50 a month, and they would get paid for 10 months, up to 2 children. So if you have 4 children that you're taking to 4 different schools, and that could happen.
Yeah.
Or actually, you probably only take them to 3 different schools.
I thought it was $100. I read.
No, a maximum of 100.
Okay, gotcha.
It's $50 per child. But if you have 3 children going to 3 different schools, you still only get paid for the first 2.
I got it.
And you get paid for 10 months out of the 12 months of a year. So the maximum they're going to give you is $1,000. And I'm not going to judge whether $1,000 is suitable or fair or kind of a compensation that's equal to the work it's going to take to do this. Because, for a working parent, fitting that in, again, it could be 2 or 3 different schools. It's in the morning, it's in the afternoon. That might not be worth anything near $1,000. And you can't go around and pick up half the kids in your neighborhood and get paid to drive them around either. So I kind of felt the need to defend the township, the school district, Susquehanna Township, because people are going on to Facebook. This is exactly what happens with this school district. No, this is exactly what's going on all over the country.
Yeah,
the school bus shortage, driver shortage. I don't know what's going on over at Cumberland Valley. I haven't heard anything. Maybe they have their stuff worked out for now. I hope they do. So anyway, Hershey Park Heroes, Bill. Somehow I believe a 9 or 10-year-old boy got over or under some chains that were blocking off the entranceway to the monorail.
Yeah.
And
wasn't there a mention that he was autistic?
I don't remember.
He may have been.
But I mean, that monorail doesn't look to be all that wide. The track.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think we've all seen it. It's national. It's probably international news. I mean, I've seen it on all the major networks. And so 2 men were heroes. They keep giving the one guy. The one guy, I think he's a doctor or an attorney or something. He's a great guy. He was interviewed the other morning on a show I watched. But he's like, look, I'm not a hero. I'm a parent. I'm a person that kind of loves kids, and that's just what you do. When you're a parent, you're in that mode. And they climbed up on a building. It was like a French fry shack or something like that. And then from there, he climbed up on the rail and handed the kid down to the other guy, the other hero, the second hero. So they acted swiftly. They acted quickly. They just did everything they had to do. And I'll tell you what, that rail is pretty darn high, Bill.
Yeah, I can almost, my granddaughter is autistic, right?
Right.
And she likes to get up, like climb up on the vanity in the bathroom. She climbs up on tables and she stands right on the edge. I mean, that's the kind of stuff. And she'll, like, if a kid's swinging, she'll stand right there, like just a little bit away so she doesn't get hit.
Right.
But that's how her mind works. I mean, this is something she wants to do.
Right. So that kid might not have thought anything about it.
Yeah, he may not.
What you're saying, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then this is kind of something we talked about earlier, and I stopped talking about it because I wanted to kind of pick it up here tonight. There was a man at the Lower Paxton Township meeting. I watched the whole meeting.
Okay.
What was it, Monday or Tuesday?
Tuesday.
And he was from outside of Lower Paxton.
He's from
Township.
Pembroke.
From Pembroke. Okay. Now, he mentioned, I bet you 8 to 10 or 12 times that he's thinking about moving into Lower Paxton. He'd like to move into Lower Paxton. I mean, and he just gave a barrage of reasons why he might not move into Lower Paxton. You
Yeah.
know, the crime and the kids are terrible, and over and over and over. And I think some of this stuff was kind of accurate. You know, maybe the delivery was not appropriate at all. But what are the rules, Bill? And I think you have a way better understanding than I about people from outside of the township speaking at the Lower Paxton Township Board of Supervisor meetings.
Yeah, well, that's first of all, it's very strange to have someone come in like that.
I thought it was odd. I thought it was kind of bizarre.
Off the top of my head, I can't confirm it, but I don't think they didn't necessarily need to allow him to do that. I think they had the ability to say, since you're not in this community, you know, this is the forum for you to use. But Chairwoman Laura Kurtz allowed it to go, and that's her choice.
I credit her. I've seen her have probably think, and I'm not trying to get inside of her head, but I've seen her more than just the other night go probably thinking, I'll just give him another 30 seconds. Well, or I'll just give her another minute.
Well, she handles things with grace, Joe.
She does. That's what I'm trying. You just took the word out of my mouth.
She's been hit with different things that
absolutely
that she knew dead on were not right, were not correct, and she handles it very well.
Yes, yeah. Because if you're just cutting people off quickly and left and right, and a lot of times you sit there and you think, well, I don't think other people want to hear this. Well, you know what? It doesn't kill you to give them another 30 seconds or another minute, and I really think that's what she was doing with that, man. I just kind of wondered, you know, especially when he wasn't there on any, like, I mean, I'm sure he was there on real business to him, but it wasn't anything to do with any government, you know, at all. It had nothing to do with government or governing or the relationship between Pembroke Borough and Lower Paxton Township, because Pembroke's is two over. There's Lower Paxton, Susquehanna Township, and then Pembroke, but he really kind of was laying into the township on a lot of issues. So.
Yeah, we didn't. That wasn't a very good public relations.
No, that's not what you want to use for your promotional.
I said to you, I lived near Coons Park. He was saying about how bad Coons Park is. Other than the fireworks show, I don't see it. I don't see it.
Yeah, so. I mean, it's a great park. I think a lot of the thing, and you know, and the last thing I'll say is, you know, our kids. Kind of not the way we like them to be a lot of times these days, sure. But it's not like Lower Paxton Township owns the child issues problem, okay? This is something that's going on all over the place.
But you know, you work with kids in the sports stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a tremendous number of just high quality kids out there.
I've met so many great kids over the last 10 years and before that, even with different things. So anyway, that was not the going on the promotional video for the township, but I just kind of wondered. I thought Laura Kurtz did a great job, Chairwoman Kurtz, and I just kind of wondered, should he even have been up there to begin with? Okay, so we're going to close with this, Bill. Linglestown Gazette. You are the publisher of Linglestown Gazette.
Yeah,
and it seems like you always got something going on now, new, and you're working towards things that at one time you hadn't been or you weren't. What's going on with Linglestown Gazette today, this week?
Well, this week, of course, the meeting, and I had a chance to do some public speaking. I got up on public comment and presented an 8-step process to deal with this roundabout issue.
Fabulous. Great presentation. I mean, and I'm not being a homer because you're my friend. You just did a great job. You had it all kind of capsulized. You didn't drag it out. And I thought that you did a wonderful job of presenting that information to the board. Yeah, and the other thing, I have been so inspired by the people who frequent Linglestown Gazette and the way this roundabout issue, just to get back to that again, has been an example of how the community through Facebook and through a web like a Linglestown Gazette page can come together and things work in a way that you actually make an impact in your community. I mean, it wasn't just me. We're talking about hundreds of people, comments, submitting photos, putting information out there that was helpful, like truckers weighing in, former PennDOT employees weighing in. You're frozen, Bill. It's just not playing around. It's not just. No, you're providing a service to the public.
Yeah, it's like being an advocate.
Yeah.
Showing the people a pathway that we can go down if we work together.
Right.
And later tonight, I'm going to be back on Facebook Live talking about how, in a different way, we can work together to provide information to our community. We don't have to have a professional organization. There's ways, especially with new technology, we can get things done without high salaries, benefits, and we can just come together and do things like the roundabout. And the last thing I'm going to mention is I'm now transitioning now to developing the business aspect of Lingelstown Gazette with the help of you and another member of the community helping me out. So we're making that turn to be able to make it into an operation that's a legitimate business, a nonprofit charitable organization. So I'm going to actually be putting out some numbers and things that I need to generate to get off the ground tonight at 9, along with rolling out what I'm calling the Pioneer Club and what that's all about.
All right.
So that's at 9 o'clock.
That's on your Facebook page, right? Lingelstown Gazette Facebook page, 9 o'clock.
Right.
All right. I think that's it, Bill. Anything else from your end?
No, I tell you, if people catch on to the show, we've had some tremendous interviews and some great guests.
And you know what? I have my space here that says sourcing. You know how every week I tell you this is who I'm sourcing. I wasn't sourcing anybody this week. I just kind of didn't know who was. I'm sourcing Patty Kim now.
Okay.
Yeah, I would love to have Representative Kim, right?
No, State Senator.
State Senator Kim.
Yeah, she's in her first term.
That's right, State Senator Kim, and she was the representative.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So I get some.
And also, I have not held my end of the bargain up, but we do want to have George Hartwick's colleague Justin Douglas on the show as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's okay. When you get a minute, reach out to him or whatever we have to do, and let's get him on too. All right.
Yeah, he'll be a good guest too.
Let's thank once again our This and That the podcast sponsors, the American Legion Post 272, the Lingelstown American Legion, also known as the Robert H. Hoke Post 272 on Mountain Road in Lingelstown, Team PA or Team Pennsylvania, AAU basketball, Rickabaz Electric. And these are some great local businesses. Support them if you are able. So that's about it. The only thing we do know is next week's show is going to be on Wednesday because Bill's going to step away for a little bit, right?
Yeah, I'm going to go on vacation.
Yeah.
Need a vacation.
Yeah. So we will have something for you. Even if we're not able to secure Senator Kim, Bill and I will just kind of hang out for a little bit and talk about what's going on, what happened between tonight and next Wednesday, and we'll go from there. All right?
All right. Sounds good.
Bill, thank you.
See ya.
Thanks to George Hartwick.